Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to Philcraft Survival Headquarters. I'm going to talk for about 10-15 minutes about optics, about sights for different platforms. A couple of disclaimers. Number one, I'm not paid by any optics company to push their stuff. Not going to happen. So I'm going to tell you the truth. Number two, this is my opinion based on years of experience. If you don't agree with me, good for you. Then yeah, I don't need to hear about it. Just don't do what I say. And number three, I threw some lists up there. Obviously, there's a whole lot more optics out there than what I have on the list. These are just systems that I've got personal experience with, and I'm trying to give you the best system on the market and then a cheaper option if money's tight. I'm sure you can find different prices than I found. You'll probably find stuff cheaper, or maybe it's more expensive. So it's geared towards education. That's it, right? So I don't have my pistols here right now. So when you're talking red dots for a pistol, the Trigicon RMR won the SOCOM down select. Now, just because it's on the table or just because some SOCOM picked it doesn't mean that's what you need. SOCOM picked things for very specific capability gaps and reasons that may not line up with your needs. And just because I have it on the table here, I probably won it in a competition, and that doesn't mean run out and buy one either. But the Trigicon RMR or the Trigicon SRO, if you look here, it costs you about 500 bucks. These are handgun reflex sights. The Leopold Delta Point Pro is a really good one as well. And then I threw a cheaper option up there, the Vortex Venom. It's pretty cheap, 180 bucks. Now you can get cheaper than that, but you probably don't want to go with like Walmart optics on your gun, right? But if I had my choice, then I would go with this Trigicon RMR. That's what I would buy, okay? All right, let's talk about carbines. So let's talk about red dot sights for CQB and carbine stuff. This is the M68 reflex sight, or the Comp M, whatever it is, for the Army. This has been in service for 15 years or more. It's got a simple red dot. There's two types of sights for CQB. There's the red dot, and then there's the holographic sight. The holographic sight is what's in the EOTech, and it kind of hovers there in the middle. Now that was all the rage for a long time. And then a whistleblower inside L3 about 5 years ago said, hey, there's problems with thermal shift and parallax in these optics. And SOCOM, while I worked there, did a big investigation, and we tested every optic on the market. And actually this one here was one of the best ones for no thermal shift and very little parallax. Another really good one was the Aimpoint Micro T1 or T2. Very good. Now, what's thermal shift? Thermal shift it's very bad in holographic sights, because when you have a sight kind of hovering like that, you have a lot of mirrors and glue in there. And when the temperature rises, the ambient temperature, that dot, because that glue was shifting, that dot was moving. And it would move as little as 9 degrees ambient temperature. It would move to a certain point, and then when the temperature would drop, it would not move back to the same point. So that was a huge problem. Now, I will say that L3 have fixed for SOCOM all the holographic sights that we had, and the new 552 has corrections in there. I just mentioned this because if you're buying a second-hand EOTech from somebody else who's had it for a while, it's the bigger one, it's probably got those issues still, okay? So this is a pretty good option right here. It's kind of old school, but it still works well. The Micro T1 or T2 is a really good option. The EOTech is not a bad option, but it's expensive. And then there's this Vortex, big clunky thing. You could probably take cover for behind it, you know, because it's so big. I would not recommend this. So go to the board here, a couple of options. If price wasn't an issue for me, I'd buy the Aimpoint Micro T2 is the newer one. That's about $700. So that's expensive for a small CQB sight. Trigicon MRO is a really good optic too, nice window in it. You're talking about usually about 2.5 minutes of angle dot here. The Aimpoint Comp M2 is the one I looked at over there. That's expensive. And then the EOTech holographic sight is about 400 bucks. So again, if I had my choice, I'd go with this one. If I was trying to save a little amount of money, I'd go with the Trigicon MRO, sorry. Cool? All right. let's step it up a little bit. Let's talk about long-range carbine. Now, we wrote a program in SOCOM for a long-range carbine called Squad Variable Powered Optic. And it was basically an optic that I can do multiple things with. So I can power it down to 1 power. I can put on a very bright red dot, and I can run CQB. I can clear a house. When I go to the roof, I can power it up to 6 power, and I've got a good reticle in there, and I can work out to about 500 yards in the city, because that's all I really need in the city. Now, when we did the program, this competed, and but the SIG Tango actually won the contract. The SIG Tango won the contract, but I don't have one right here, right now. So this is a 1:6 variable powered optic. It's second focal plane. Second focal plane gave me a big, very big eye box in the back because of the way it's designed. So when we talk about first and second focal plane or front focal plane, when you run a long range optic, it should always be front focal plane or first focal plane. That means the reticle's up here in the front of the optic around the turrets. A second focal plane optic, the reticle is behind the magnification. So what does that mean to you? It means as I power down and power up with a first focal plane optic, that image is going to get smaller and larger as I power down. With first focal plane, the reticle will stay the same size regardless of the magnification. With second focal plane, as I power that image down and the image gets smaller, the reticle stays the same size. And that, there's pros and cons, but generally for an optic like this, you can run second focal plane, but for a longer range optic, you want first focal plane. This is 1:6. This one over here is a SOCOM programmer record too, and this is a 1:8. This is a first focal plane with a trimmer 8 reticle in it, and this is a fantastic scope as well. Just sturdy, solid, durable, and very, very accurate. Okay, Night Force 1:8, Vortex 1:6. So if we talk about long range carbine, we look at the board here, that Vortex Razor HD is about $1,500. That's the 1:6. The 1:10, I was looking at it earlier on today, and that's about twice the price. That's expensive, right? The SIG Tango about $1,200, and the Night Force 1:8 first focal plane about $2,300. A lot of money. So again, if I had my choice and money wasn't a problem, I'd go with the Night Force 1:8. If I was looking to save a little money, I'd buy that SIG Tango. It passed all the SOCOM testing, which is no small feat, because we test the shit out of these things. So that's what I would go with right there. But all three are good options. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about long range sniper support or a gas gun where we're engaging targets to about 800,000 yards. All right, so I have a couple of these 3.5 to 21 Bushnell HD MRs, and I won them in competition, but they've actually been really good to me. I've broken one or two, but they had a lifetime warranty, so they sent me a brand new one. I think this one is an H59 reticle in it, and this one has a trimmer 3 in it. Good sturdy optics, good magnification for a gas gun. 3.5 to 21's pretty sweet, and very durable option, and fairly inexpensive in the grand scheme of things. Okay. This one's got a switch view on the back, which I highly recommend. When you're powering up and down, you can just grab that bad boy. And it's also got a red dot sight mounted on the side for really close targets or for transitioning from target to target. So Bushnell, this is a Leopold. This is actually the new, it's the Mark 5 HD. And this is the new programmer record for the Army. It's got an Army grid reticle in it. It's got these pinch turrets on it. Leopold make a good optic, a little bit on the expensive side for what you're getting. All right, but I do like that it's short, which is always good. So let's look at the board here for a gas gun or a bolt gun when you're shooting like 6.5, 260 Remington, 308, and you're trying to engage out to 1,000. So the Night Force 3.5 to 18, I looked it up today, is about $1,700. That's a really good option. The Vortex 4.5 to 27, which I have one there, That's about $2,000. The Bushnell Elite HDMR, $1,300. So that's the newer version of this one for about $1,300. And then you look at the Leopold Mark 6, which I have one here somewhere. This is the Leopold Mark 6 right here. Again, good sturdy scope, but expensive. Right, so that one is about $2,800. So again, if I had my choice and I had to pick any one, I'd go with that Knife Force. And then if I was looking to save some money, I'd go with that Bushnell HDMR with a gridded reticle in it, a trimmer 3 probably. Okay, all right. Moving on, bolt guns, longer range. Now we're getting into 1,500 meters and in. This is a Leopold Mark 6. This is the Vortex. It's not that big. This is a dust cover on the front of it. Just up, you're getting a lot of shadow. It's a decent sized scope, 4.5 to 27, 0.1 millirads, and it's got a gridded reticle and it's a 300 Win Mags, a hunting gun. The gold standard right now, I'm just going to say it, for long range rifle is this bad boy right here. This is a Night Force ATAC-R. It's 7 on the low end to 35 power on the high end. It's got a Geisley rail. This is a diving board mount that I can put a rangefinder on or an illuminator or whatever I need. This has got a trimmer 3 reticle in it, super sturdy turrets. It's got a switch view on the back. This is the exact same scope in black, but Night Force ATAC-R 7 to 35 with a trimmer 3 reticle. SOCOM programmer record right here for our long guns. Can't say enough about that. So let's look at extreme long range, which I would put, you know, at the 1,500. Night Force ATAC-R 7 to 35 trimmer 3 reticle, about $3,000 for that one, right? The Vortex Razor HD 6 to 24, actually more expensive, which shocked me, $36.99. The Leopold Mach 8, 3.5 to 25, but $5,500. The Mark 5 HD, which is this one right here, with the pinch turrets, about $2,500. And the Bushnell Elite XRS, I looked this up, I think this is the newer version of the HDMR, 4.5 to 30, $1,800, which is a really good price. And I'll be honest, Bushnell have performed well for me. Again, if I had my choice, money wasn't a problem, I'd take that Night Force ATAC-R with a trimmer 3 reticle. If I was trying to cut cost, I would take this Bushnell Elite XRS, because I've used the crap out of them and I've been pleasantly surprised. All right, so once you get your optic, and if you're going to dialing is a mechanical feature that has flaws in it, right? And that's why I like a gridded reticle, because after I zero, I never touch it again. The only thing I'm messing with is parallax. So let's talk about a tall target test. This is a really good drill. So if you get like a decent sheet of wood, put a target on, or a sheet of plywood, and all you need is like a 1-inch pasty on the bottom left corner. So this is to see if when I dial my optic, if I'm dialing 5 mils, if I actually get 5 mils or I get 4.8. And I've seen top of the line scopes like Schmidt & Bender not be correct. And I've seen cheaper scopes like Bushnell be really good. So I'm trying to see that when I dial 5 mils, I actually get 5 mils. So what you'll do is zero until you're hitting a 1-inch pasty, and then put 5 rounds in that 1-inch pasty right there. And then dial 5 mils on your turret, which is 17.25 minutes of angle. But what that will do is it'll push that turret down, that crosshair down, which is forcing you to elevate the gun to get back on target. And you aim at the exact same point and fire 5 more rounds. Those rounds should all impact up here exactly 5 mils above where you originally did it. And you can use your spot and scope or your optic on your rifle to measure to make sure that's 5 mils. Dial 5 mils to the right, aim at the same point of aim, and you should stack 5 rounds here, off to the right. Come down 5 mils, same point of aim, it should stack five shot group there, and then come left 5 mils, and you should be back to where you started. Now, when you measure these, you might find that your group was here, which means it came up, 4.7 instead of 5 mils. Well, 4.7 is 0.3 mils. It's a minute of angle at 1,000 yards. That's a 10-inch miss. And that's nothing to do with your ammunition or your optic, or it's to do with your turret not dialing true. I've seen this happen, okay? I dial 5 mils right, either it all stacks here where it's supposed to, or it goes 4.7. So let's say you dial up 5 mils and you're 4.7, you dial right 5 mils and you're 4.7, you're way off now. You're 2 minutes of angle off. One for windage, one for elevation. So this is a really easy way to see if your turret is tracking properly. If I confused the crap out of you there, go to YouTube, look up Applied Ballistics, and look at Brian Litz. He does it on the range. He does a tall target test, and it'll explain it a little better. That's how you find out if your turret's dialing true. Okay? So, one last thing. Eye relief is the distance, when I get on this gun, the distance from where my eye should be and the back of the optic is called eye relief. And everybody's a little different because everybody's neck is different, but the optic knows exactly where the optimal place for your eye is, so you have no scope shadow and you can minimize parallax, right, if you're not looking through. So the scope knows. And a really cool way to figure that out, an optical engineer showed me this a couple of years ago. You take a really bright flashlight and you put it in the front of your optic, and then you take a piece of paper at the back. And then as you move this in, when it goes to like a really, really concentrated pinpoint of light, that's the perfect eye relief for that optic. And that's usually between 3 and 3.5 inches. So you could measure that, and then when you mount your optic, you could have a really good idea where that eye relief should be. All right, just thought I'd throw that out. All right, if you've got any questions on optics and stuff like that, hit me up on Instagram, DM me. I think we did this for IGTV, but we might put it on YouTube. And yeah, till the next time, stay alert, stay alive.